welcome to In the Front Row. Today we are talking One Piece, and I decided to do it with some of my friends who are experts in anime and also someone who's not. So I have Tyler from over at Tyler Bab, Tyrone from over at the Circle Club, and Alex, that way, from Altex TV. How are we going?
Great.
Wonderful.
Good.
Great. So Tyler has never watched anime before, or never watched the One Piece anime before, correct?
Correct. Did I get all the? Yeah, I got all the way through the live action, and then I watched maybe 10 minutes of the first episode, and I was like, all right, cool. So but completely fresh going into this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. So Tyler is completely fresh. I'd watched one episode. If you've been here before, Tyrone and I did first time watching anime, which was very exciting. And I did like it, but I never got further than the one episode of One Piece. And then Alex, Alex, you're 100 deep. Is that right? Of One Piece?
Yes. Yep. 100 in.
But a massive anime fan, so I'm really excited to hear his thoughts. And then we have the god. Literally, we should all just start like bowing down because he's the one who put me onto this in the first place and has watched all episodes from what I'm aware of. Is that right, Tyrone?
Yeah, I've watched all 1,075. I'm caught up on the manga, which is, I think, about like 20 chapters past. And yeah, it seems crazier than it is, though. I promise.
Insane, mind blown. All right, so that's our history with One Piece, I guess you could say. But let's talk now about the live action. So, what did we all think of it? Should we go with the newbies or the experts?
Newbies.
The noobs.
Me. That's me.
That's you, Tyler.
That's me. So my biggest issue, not issue with anime, but the thing is how long it is in terms of just like how long it takes to tell the actual story beats of the thing. It just seems like for me personally, we drag on, and it's like, why do these episodes take forever for the story? There's filler episodes. I feel like there's a lot of that in some anime that I've seen. And so that's kind of turned me off of the anime. But this moved so fast. It's the not the truncated, that's not the right word. The squished down version of the anime. That's more my pace. That's more what I'm used to. So I loved how fast this, because that was my biggest concern. I was like, is this going to feel slow to the point where I'm not into it and it loses me? But no, I thought it moved brilliantly. I thought there was a lot of the setup was incredible. There was no dicking around. It was like we started and it was like, we're going after the One Piece and we're doing this. And I was like, thank God. I was like, all right, we're in it. And I don't know if the anime does that or not, but like, I loved how it was like, here we go. This is what we want. We're going after this. And they explained it. That was the one thing I was looking for with the stretchiness. I was like, is this going to be like, how are they doing this? Because it threw me off at first. I was like, all right, he eats the fruit. I'm cool with that. As long as you explain it, I'm good. I love it. I love how fast this moved.
Yeah, that was a really good thing because I think I asked both Tyrone and Alex. I was like, you guys know I haven't watched the anime, so should I even start this? Like, is this for those hardcore fans like yourselves, or is it for me? Like, can I pick this up knowing nothing other than like the first episode? And you can pick it up and watch the entire season 1 and everything just flow like you were watching the anime. Like, I watched that episode 1, and episode 1, it was exactly how I remembered it. I was like, wow, this looks exactly like it did in the cartoon version of live action. Like, but even better in my opinion, because the characters I could like relate to because they were live action. So yeah, it definitely answers all the questions and doesn't keep you, out of the loop. It's really, really good.
Yeah, I think this is certainly more for you all, like the newer fans, to introduce than like us traditional fans. But I think that both sort of can appreciate it. But it definitely was made, I think, more for people to kind of, because like Tyler said, it's pretty overwhelming when you see that large number of episodes to start in the pacing. And then I think also One Piece is pretty big internationally, but I think certainly in American audiences, it's getting there, but it's still sort of new. And then with American storytelling, like you absolutely need your antagonist in the beginning. There's not really a patience sort of with the storytelling. So everything that you all said, it's essentially opposite, in my opinion, in the anime. But I think that's good because in this live action, where you have 8 episodes, that's exactly what you need. Alex, what did you think?
So I've been burned by live action before because obviously I'm a Dragon Ball fan, and you remember that film Dragon Ball Evolution?
Yeah.
I had zero hope for this, zero hope, and I thought by the trailer this looked like some cosplay YouTube thing. Watching it, I remember texting my friend after the first episode. I went, "This is actually fire! Like this is doing justice right now." And what I think worked is they got to come in and help. And that's the main thing. Oda was there overseeing. They would go see him. What do you think of this? Oh, we're changing this. Can we do this and this? And they'll be like, cool, we'll go back to that and we'll do this. The respect to go, we're going to get the creator's opinion on things, I think is what makes this really good. Easily do what The Witcher do and not listen to anyone and be like, no, we're doing it our way. End of story. But that's why I think this works so well. And what it is it's getting this new audience to come over to anime as well. Because you're starting to see kids and stuff like that watch these live actions and go, oh, maybe I want to see the anime. And then that's how they get introduced into the anime. So it's a good stopgap for that. But I think the practical effects, oh, man, those Arlong and his crew. I know in the anime they're massive, but you can't do that in live action. Like, it just would look really goofy if they're, like, gigantic. I think practical effects were better than using CGI. That is one thing I love practical. And if they just CGI'd Arlong and that there, I just feel like it wouldn't work. But I think they nailed it. I really do think they nailed it. And to compress like 30-odd episodes into 8, paced it really, really well for me.
Yeah, the East Blue Saga is about 65 episodes deep, and I think this is around what they did is like around 55-ish. And they definitely made some major changes. But like the changes that they made, it made sense for live action. Like, for example, Luffy, getting Luffy's backstory about how he has that scar, that's not in the anime. That's not something we have. But adding that into the story, it kind of created this like cool lore there that us as fans were like, that's not canon, but we can respect it and it works. And you understand that Luffy really had this strong desire to become a pirate. And you know, Alex, to your point about the trailer, I think that episode 1, like, I can tell that was the first stuff that they shot, like where Zoro gets trapped. And then like when Oda came in, he clearly was like, you know, this is okay, but let's get rid of like kind of the more cosplay look thing here and really dive into it, which is why the next episode, when you see Buggy, it in the practical effects and the visual effects, it's much better. Buggy. It's much Buggy. They nailed Buggy.
They nailed Buggy. Oh, nailed him. Absolutely fantastic. I think all the casting was really good. I thought they nailed the casting. Like Sanji, perfect. Nami, perfect. Zoro, perfect. Luffy, perfect. Usopp, perfect.
The kid who played Luffy and Inaki, there's a clip of him and Oda meeting, and Oda's just like, "You are Luffy. You are everything I ever imagined to be Luffy." And like, I think for some people, like I actually had a friend who watched for the first time, didn't watch any anime, and they go, "Luffy's kind of an idiot." I'm like, kind of? He is an idiot. And like, I think Inaki did a great job of balancing that, which is very difficult to do because in a cartoon setting like a Bugs Bunny, you get hit in the head, there's a knot, you know, but like you kind of, I feel like they did a really good job of embodying the spirit of One Piece, which is why this worked so well for me. And as someone who's like a large fan, I had some major concerns about how these things translated, but I think you could tell like for the deep fans, they had some like sort of added lore and like little Easter eggs in there that we could really appreciate. But as you know, Tyler said and Jamie Lee said, it wasn't overwhelming where there's like super long. The pacing really, really was. That's what I was nervous about, and I thought they nailed it.
Yeah. And then even moving Garp into the more of a spotlight in that first season as well, where he's not like that in the anime, having him constantly there and having the spotlight on him and Koby, I thought was an interesting choice as well, but it worked.
Also, that's not.
Is he his granddad still?
Yeah, but
has the story changed or no?
You don't. Yeah, but you don't find that out until like episode.
No, you don't find out. Yeah,
like 300.
Wow.
That's one thing that I really, really, really wish that they didn't change, but I understand why, and it works for this. Because if you have the timing and you know you're gonna watch that reveal when you get it, it's like, whoa, it's like you just don't see it coming. But it makes sense in this sense because they're trying to establish that Garp and Luffy have this relationship, and that I think the big thing that they really wanted you to see in that is that the Marines, even though they're bad guys, that they have their own code and they respect that other people have their way of going about it. And that's something in the anime, at least in the first 100 episodes, they don't really do as good as in the anime.
Yeah, we talked about that over on your channel with Garp and things like that. And there's some things that they did need to pinpoint down or lock down in, and I can understand that would piss off a lot of anime fans, but for fans like me and Tyler, we need that we need those answers. It wouldn't make sense to continue on into season 2 not knowing, not ending what we'd started. And that was one of the things that I really liked about the One Piece live action, is that it felt like every episode started and ended. When we got to I keep calling him the vampire. What was his name again, Tyrone? Khalid.
Oh, you're talking about Clalador?
Yeah, I never know how to pronounce it.
I know.
Him, Clalador, whatever.
But Clalador or something like that.
Yeah, when we got to that episode, well, even with Buggy, it felt like it started and it finished. Even though technically Buggy didn't die, that episode ended. His episode closed. And it just seemed like even though these villains are still alive and we're still going to see them at some point in the show's overall, at some point across the show, it just felt closed. It felt like the episode started and it ended. It wasn't dragging on. Yeah, I really liked how everything tied in and everything made sense, to the point where in that final episode, I told you about this, Tyrone, as well, when we got to the point where all of the characters, all of the crew were putting their feet on the barrel, and they were saying, what their dreams were from the very, very start. Luffy put his feet up and he said he wanted to be the Pirate King, and Nami put her feet up and said she wanted to draw maps, and, Zoro, same thing, wanted to be the world's greatest swordsman. That right there tied in with the very first things that we saw of those characters, whether it be in a flashback or at the start. It was all tied in so perfectly, and I really appreciate that. I love them callbacks and things like that. So yeah, I thought it was fantastic. What about
can I ask a question for you and Tyler? So I one thing I think that they didn't really do well, but maybe it's just because I have the background knowledge. I felt like they didn't show that Luffy, the reason why he is so special is that he's willing to help these people with their dreams because they're his friends, and I kind of felt like at moments I was like, are you buying that these people are actually friends, or is it more so that they are honest, they have the same journey that they're gonna help each other?
I always thought that Luffy was just a good person. It wasn't even necessarily that he wanted to help his friends. They might not have even been their friends at the time. It's he wants anybody to follow their dreams, regardless of who it is or regardless of what their dream is. If that's something that you want, he wants you to pursue it, because he's a good person and he's got a good heart. And that's what I got from it. But when you talk about believing if they're friends or not, I mean, all of that will eventually tie in. But I always thought Nami, for some reason, I was like, she's going to dog them. I don't know, something was always off. So I never really felt like there was a friendship there. I always thought, or maybe is she going to be a baddie? I did with Tyrone, we did this, what do you call it? A first time.
We sort of predicted.
Of the villains, and you're like, which one do you think, is this a good person or a bad person? And I got things probably completely wrong, but in the back of my mind, all I kept thinking in season 1 is she bad? Is she going to dog these guys in the end? So I never really believed her, but the others I was like, yeah. But
what about you, Tyler?
In the end, I loved her.
I think so. A big comparison that I drew, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and so this whole thing, because they're making the Harry Potter show.
Yep.
And I just kept getting I'm like, man, I really hope that the show feels like this, because it just, and I think Luffy just kind of feels again, kind of that chosen one, right? Kind of like how Harry Potter has, but it's more of the gang comes together and just kind of supports him, and same thing with Luffy. But Luffy just has not a higher calling, but it just, and I don't know where this goes. I have no idea, but it just seems like Luffy's a special a special person in this universe, more than we know, right? Just kind of like Harry Potter. It's like this guy is special on another level. We don't really know what's going on, and maybe down the line we do figure out what's happening with Luffy, and more things happen. I don't know, but it just seems like, and I just loved his conviction. You talk about how people are like, oh, isn't he an idiot? It's like, yeah, but he had conviction. There's a huge difference.
Yes.
If you can be a dumb person, but if you stand there and if you're confident as hell, you can make a lot of things happen. Yeah, that's how I pictured him. I was like, he's got that charm though. And some people have that in life. That's real. That's a real thing that people have. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, Tyler, like I that's what I've been saying for a long time to Jamie Lee about the series. I was like, I know it seems like it's about pirates, but I'm like
but I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, but like I said to her, I was like, I know this seems like this is about pirates, but it's more sort of like in that Narnia, Harry Potter sort of world, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones world building sort of thing, where you're just it's building and building and building on something. And I think you nailed Luffy. Luffy is someone who is just determined. Both of you, he's determined. He's a good person, and he wants to see the best. And I think the thing that I first love, and even the anime that they do really a great job in this, is when his relationship with Koby. The relationship in the live action, I think, is better. It's something that you can appreciate, but literally, Koby, the payoff that we get with Koby, like just a couple weeks ago, like in the manga, like 1090 or something, like we got this incredible moment with Koby. And so like, I think up front, what they do with the live action is they show the importance of Koby, and that's something that they don't do, I think, as well in the anime. But Luffy supporting him regardless, even if they're on like opposite sides, that just speaks to who he is. It's like, we may be on the opposite sides, but damn it, you be the best on that opposite side, and you believe in yourself, and you don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it. And that's what always drew me to the character, because I feel like, us even being on YouTube, like, supporting each other and pushing each other, it's like that sort of necessary and the necessary spirit you have to have in this world. So I think they did a great job of embodying that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So were there any episodes that stood out to you? I really loved, I'm so glad that you guys talked about Buggy, because that was my favorite episode. I said to Tyrone, that one for me was just clowns don't do it for me normally. And in Twisted Metal and in this, the episodes that had the clowns in it were freaking perfect. So that was my favorite episode. And obviously the last one where everything tied all in there, with Garp and with Luffy. I thought that was a really beautiful episode too. So what about you guys? Alex, we'll start with you. Did you have a favorite ep?
Mine's probably the backstory with Sanji.
Yeah,
that was like
emotional.
I don't know, but the performance on the back of the boat, like I don't care, and then he turns around, he's like, I owe you, like that just
my life.
Hit me. I was just like, that is superb acting, and it was just that backstory, and then it's like, give me some food, and it's not food, it's just treasure, and he's eating his own leg to keep this. That was probably the best episode, I think, because of just the emotional weight behind it and that. But then also the Nami and Luffy, like that scene, I thought did the anime justice with her saying that, Luffy grabbing her arm, and then she just turns to him and say, help me, puts the hat on her head, and then of course I will. Like, it's just little moments like that just like, it's just like, that's exactly what it is. And like, totally. So I'd say the Sanji episode and then that episode for me.
Yeah, Alex, dude, I mean, I'm right there with you. Like, Sanji is a character in the anime that I actually really didn't like for a while. He's a lot more pervy in the anime, but like, but what
I liked him straight away.
but just throughout the entire anime, like he's one of my favorite, probably like top 2 or 3. And he has such a great like character growth and arc. But this actor who like nails it, he's so smooth, so suave, and I love the moment where he picks up the bill. Yep. He picks up the bill and receipt from Luffy, and he's like, this is a good one, and like just he understood who Luffy was right away. And then just the sets there were really awesome. But to me, as a long-term fan, seeing Mihawk and Zoro fight, that was something that I was a little nervous about, like with the live action, and just seeing how Mihawk just splits the ship in half, phenomenal special effects there. And then just those two, like that, like, you know, him having that respect for Zoro to be like, damn, this kid's got some balls, man. Like, I want to see how far he gets. It's sort of that same parallel with Luffy, where it's like, no, even though we're on the opposite sides, we both have the same goal. I want to see where this goes. So yeah, I agree, Alex. That was my favorite.
So I don't know that Luffy's pirate mentor guy, red hair guy. I don't know his name.
Shanks.
Yes.
Shanks.
Did he have more to do in the anime in this saga in this part?
No, dude. Let me tell you something.
No.
As someone who's gotten to 1,091 manga and all, Shanks, I could probably put on like two hands the amount of information we know about Shanks.
Really?
Shanks, he's super mysterious. A lot we don't know. Yeah, a lot we don't know. And this sort of like, we're in sort of like the end game portion of the story here. I think it's going to end in like 3 to 6 years. And this right now is we're finally getting to know who Shanks really is, which is, without spoiling, so like the Shanks that we got here, that's just about as much as we know as you. Seriously.
I figured that was a storyline that they may have cut, but okay, interesting.
That's disappointing to me because I loved their relationship. I was like, oh, we're going to see how this started and, you know, they're going to be like brothers, and we get nothing apparently.
No, it works though, because like, you know, when you talk about the pacing of the show, we like that every episode we get, or like every bunch, you're always kind of like, whoa, this new thing. Because like you guys said, it's such a long series. How do you keep it interesting? You have to withhold information. That way, you know, down the line, you're like, oh my God, like Oda has known the ending for, you know, 2 decades now. So like, it's just like, he's slowly like putting it out there, and it is worth it throughout it. And I think that with the live action, if they continue this a few seasons, I don't think we're going to get as much Shanks as you all think. They may do it, but I don't think so, except like hearing about how his sort of pirate crew is operating on their own. And I think that's what they do well here too, is that it's not just one group we're following. We hear about other pirate groups as well.
That's why I really thought that they would tie in Shanks. Like if Usopp's dad is working on Shanks' like crew, I thought, oh, everything's going to tie in and he might be related to him somehow or something, especially when Mihawk at the end went to him and he's like, hey, I think you might want to, you know, you want to see this, you know this kid, you know. I thought something might tie in there as well, like Tyler, but obviously not.
No, it does. There is like,
but not as much as I want.
yeah. Like I can't say, but trust me, it works. It works.
All right. Okay. So did you have a favorite, Tyler? Did I cut you off or?
No, I was the one with Nami and the you know, her whole thing with the treasure and the
pirates.
Yeah, and how she was going to pay him back, and then that didn't happen. That was I think that was the best episode.
Yeah.
It breaks your heart when you're watching it in the anime. It breaks your heart.
Oh,
it is. Yeah.
The saddest part about that to me was when she said to him, I'm like, you're not even my mom. I was like, oh. And then at the end, how she made the tangerine flower, I was like, oh my God, my heart is breaking. Oh, it really is. Hey. Yes. And I did not expect to be like super invested in this, like emotionally. And I said the same thing with Twisted Metal. Like Twisted Metal reminds me completely different things, I know, and you're probably thinking, what a fucking idiot. But they reminded me of this because like Twisted Metal was made by people who loved Twisted Metal. The Last of Us was made by somebody who loved The Last of Us. They were involved in these projects. They care about them and they want to see them succeed. And I feel like this is the same thing. Alex mentioned it before, you know, that the creator had a lot of influence over. Yeah, there we go.
Say his name.
Let me get it right because I thought you said Yoda, and I was like, nope, that's a different franchise again.
Yeah, no, Yoda made this.
Yoda's the same.
He is Yoda.
Jamie Lee, I'm just trying to save you in the comments so they don't attack you, okay? That's all.
Yeah.
Respect him, bitch. All right, I will bow down now to Oda. What was I saying? Yeah, so they had like a lot of influence in this, and I feel like that's one of the reasons why it is so special to everybody. Because you can just feel how much care went into all of those projects. Same with this. I was like, this kid is so silly. How could I possibly love him and take him seriously? And you do. And you can literally see the split in his personality from that silly Luffy that, you know, just fun, loving life, so delightful, to that don't mess with my friends. Like literally, the expression on his face just changes, and you are just invested. You're like, oh my god, what's he gonna do? What will he do to protect his crew? And yeah, it's just really cool. I love the characters. That's what really hooked me, I think.
I love that. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah. So talking about the characters, tell me about your favorite ones. For me, it was Zoro. I loved how little he could say, but how much he could say with the little that he did say, if that makes any sense. He was by far my favorite. What about you guys?
Yeah, he's my favorite. he's my favorite, and I love how they took him off the board too. That was cool. It adds another layer, right? Because it was paced. Like I said, pacing is everything, and it's just like they built up the friendship, and then they took him off the board at the perfect time, and then I was like, because I don't know, I didn't watch the anime, so I'm like, is he dead? I think that was so cool about it, and I didn't want to watch the anime because I was like, no, let Netflix present this the way that it is, because I had seen Bebop, and then I watched the live action. I was like, this doesn't feel right. It feels off. So, and I didn't want to do that with this one. I was like, I feel like that was kind of unfair to the live action Bebop. So let me just go into this fresh. And yeah, they took him off the board, and I was like, I don't know if this guy makes it. I really don't. And I really ended up really liking this dude. And his whole backstory was crushing. Like, I was like,
oh man,
his friend and everything, and I was like, oh man. And I just it's perfect because you set up these guys, and they don't only say what they want, but the show shows you why they want these things, and that's missing from a lot of television. Where it's like people would just say they want something, but we don't have, the viewer doesn't have any context. It's like, well, I don't know why this person wants to go get this thing. Ahsoka. Sorry, I've been watching that, and I want to rip my hair out. It drives me nuts.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with you. Zoro's an awesome character. What about you, Alex?
I would have said Zoro because I loved him in the anime, but I think I love all of them, but I'd have to probably go Luffy because to me, because I'm a Dragon Ball fan, Luffy is so much like Goku in so many ways, and it's just like it draws me in straight away to how infectious he is. No matter who he comes up against, no matter what, you always feel like he's gonna find a way. Doesn't matter. Even if he gets beaten the first time, he'll come back, and he'll come back with another way. He's dumb. He eats a lot of food, but when it's time to fight and get serious, his IQ is on point every single time, and you just know with him, it's just that. And then whoever he's with, he just somehow draws them in, and they just become part of him. That's just you can't go wrong with him.
Which one came first, Dragon Ball or this?
Dragon Ball.
Okay.
Dragon Ball is the godfather. And in my opinion, I think this took it to another level. Because actually, funny enough, Alex, like the reason I didn't watch anime for a long time, my cousins and everyone watched Dragon Ball, but the pacing there is extremely, extremely slow. One thing to mention that you said earlier in your title that I wanted to make a note about is there's a website called Anime Filler List, and I'd recommend using that to skip over the fillers in One Piece because it's not quite something that you have to watch. It's something that it sometimes it's not even in the same universe. So that's animefillerlist.com. My favorite character was Buggy. I thought that Buggy, they nailed Buggy where he was super menacing. And then all of a sudden you're like, Buggy's a joke. Buggy's not serious. Because that's exactly how they do it. And when you first see Buggy in the anime, you're like, oh my God, someone here to stop Luffy or someone who can, match him up. And then you're like, oh my God, this guy's a fraud, And I thought they did a really good job with that. And then side note sort of like is Usopp. And not necessarily like what we got for Usopp because they took out a ton, but his relationship with Luffy, I really, really, really love the scene where at the end he's like, yeah, they stopped it. And I came in there and I did my thing. And then Luffy's kind of like, yeah, he did do that. And he hypes up his friend, I really love that. That's a great moment.
It was all stories, but this time it was actually real. He did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. What about you, Jamie Lee?
I did say that my favorite episode was 2 and the last one, but I like that you keep talking about Buggy, because when I met him, I thought, how on earth, like, if this guy can split himself into pieces, how on earth do you kill someone who's unkillable? Like, you can't stab him. You can't, like, how do you kill this person? And that's the same with all the villains. I just kept thinking, well, how can somebody who's stretchy defeat this guy? How can somebody who's stretchy defeat that guy? So I'm really curious if this goes for 1,000 episodes, like all of these
Oh, it gets
other
crazier.
like how
It gets
much
crazier.
how much
It gets
more
crazier.
insane, and how much story is
Imagine
there
your
left to tell?
your imagination times that by 1,000.
Right.
That's what's coming.
Yeah.
That is
This-
what's
I'm
coming.
scared. I'm excited.
And that's why, to me, Alex, I thought this was such a success for season 1, because I'm like, they did a great job of just making a baseline. It gets way more fun after this. Like now, like in Tyler, I would recommend and anyone who's seen like, you know, this first sort of season, if you wanna rewatch or kind of catch up to the anime, they have on Crunchyroll, it's like an hour and 30 minutes. You can do that, an hour and 30 minutes, where it's like a summary, sort of like it cuts all the extra crap of the East Blue Saga. You could watch all that, and then you can kind of like join the journey after that. That way you don't have to like watch each episode. Yeah.
Cool. I do have a question about the silliness. They've created this tone and they've set the world. But if it gets crazier, that can be a gamble. I'm talking about the live action.
Yeah.
If they stay true to what the anime does, do you think that it's going to lose people in future episodes where people are like, this is too goofy. We've gone too far.
No.
No? Okay.
It's a balancing act. That's what they have to do, because some of the characters are going to be gigantic and stuff like that. So you can't do that in live action, because then that's when you start getting silly. You start looking and go, yeah, okay, now I'm kind of turned off. So like they've got to sort of tone them down a bit, but it's that balancing of being serious when it needs to be serious and when it needs to be goofy and silly, and still have what One Piece is as its actual core value. Like, what is One Piece? And that's what it is. It's silly, goofy, but it's serious at the same time, and it's entertaining. So it's just about balancing.
Yeah, what I'll say is, like, for every serious character you have, there's a goofy one to balance it. Yeah. That's kind of the way I look at it. This next season, oh my god, I can't wait. If they execute it right, the sort of next couple like potential crew members that they may have, it's like it's even goofier. It's better than like you can imagine. So yeah. But at the same time, if you thought that like some of the stuff you saw with Nami was sad and Sanji, it kind of like that sort of same thing keeps going, where you're like, even though you're 200 episodes, 300, 400, you're like, dude, I'm crying about an inanimate object. I'm crying about like, you know, like a character that we've seen 2 minutes of. You know what I mean?
I was just about to say that it's the way that they did it is so perfect, because like we met Sanji, in one episode, and you were like crying over his backstory. Like, we literally just met you, dude, and I'm so sad for you. Like, I just want to hug you. And it was so beautiful. And what was it? Sith? How do you pronounce the man's name who saved his life, who cut off his leg?
Oh, Zeph.
That was it. Oh my god, same thing with him. You know, like, we didn't get much time with them, but the time that we did get was, you just felt so connected to these characters. It was crazy how much you loved them, or hated them, or whatever emotion you had, but so quickly that you felt that.
We need to shout out the writers, because they are why this works.
Yeah,
the people that had to adapt the thing to the live action.
100%.
They did incredible.
Yeah,
and Alex can attest to it, how that doesn't typically happen for live action anime.
Dragon Ball Evolution. That's just it's very hard. It's very hard to do.
Maybe someday.
Yeah, I've got hope now. As long as Toriyama's involved, it could happen. But that's the key, like getting them involved and adapting it to way to make it different, but also respect the original. Yeah. That's the key. And I think the writers did that, and then going to Oda and getting the approval, like, what would you add to here? And then their input. And then it's just a whole team effort that they actually cared about. And that's when you have people that care about it and actually are passionate about doing this is what you get.
Totally.
So,
And you know, to echo that too, like I believe, don't quote me, but I believe everyone on the set, like, because I've seen some interviews with the cast and the crew, the showrunners are huge fans, the directors, the writers. So like it wasn't like one of these things where they had like hired guns per se, like, oh, these were people who were actually fans.
Yeah.
These are people who are actually fans of it. And I believe everyone except Inaki, the main character, like was really like a major One Piece fan. I think he did his homework and research, which is so fascinating to me, because if you know the character Luffy, you're like, it makes so much sense that Luffy, the character Luffy, wouldn't know like the background.
He is Luffy.
Exactly. He is
He's
Luffy.
so underprepared.
Yep.
Exactly.
But he nailed it.
But it works because Luffy's character doesn't need to know everything, because at the end of the day, Jamie Lee, like you said, it's like, it's like, you're like, don't hurt my friends and don't bother, you know, and like that's just his fundamental principle.
Yeah. No, I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I loved the characters. I loved everything about it. I loved the villains, and I really loved how everything tied back into it. The thing that I really like most is the fact that it's getting a really good approval from both
Reception.
Reception. That's what I'm looking for from, hardcore fans and people who are coming across from the live action. So it's really good to hear that everybody seems to be enjoying it. I haven't seen any hardcore fans, and I do know a few that have that have criticized it or said that it hasn't worked out. So I'm really happy to hear that it's a success for hardcore fans and newbie fans like me and Tyler.
Yeah. Good. Oh, it makes me so excited to see these new fans. Like because like Alex has said over and over, it's such a weird world. But once you get into the world, kind of like Harry Potter, like I said, Narnia, like Guardians of the Galaxy, whatever, like once you're in the world and you're like, I'm on this ride, you're like, I don't want to get off. Right. And so that makes me really happy that you guys really enjoyed it. It does.
Yep. Fingers crossed we don't get the Netflix curse.
I know. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Fingers crossed.
Well, they have written season 2, so we're just waiting for the writer's strike, hopefully, touch wood, to end. And the actors and things can get back to work and back on set making these movies, which we love and enjoy. So any final thoughts on One Piece live action before we head off?
I mean, for me, just I think don't be so overwhelmed by that 1,000 number, because
my gosh, here we go. Here's his pitch on get back into the anime. I knew it was going to come at one point.
it honestly, we're a cult. We're a cult. That's what it is. That's our job, is to like invite you in. But don't be, I mean, and Alex, like as someone who I've only seen 8 episodes of Dragon Ball, and I'm taking my time with it, and like just whenever I get a moment, because once you catch up, you'll have no more, and you're like me, I'm like, oh my God, I wish there was more, But I highly recommend, if you like this season 1, watch that 1.5 cut that I mentioned, because that's all you need to get up to speed, and then I think you can start at like episode 69 or whatever, and then just take your time with it. I mean, there's no rush, right? This is entertainment, so just enjoy it, is what I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
This is your chance to pitch back, Alex. You can plug Dragon Ball Z right now to him.
Well, no, this is a good gateway into anime. And like, you don't have to start off with watching One Piece for 1,000 episodes or anything like that. There's plenty of other animes. So you got like Demon Slayer, which is a shorter one, which is the new craze right now that, people, I reckon that's the next one that's going to get adapted to live action. I think that's the next one. And there's just so many out there. Like for the superhero fans, My Hero, you got stuff like that out there. You've got the Jujutsu Kaisen. That's out currently going right now. That's really good. There's a lot of anime out there. And I think with the new fans liking the live action, I think now they're going to be more willing to actually go over there and maybe start One Piece. And while they're there, they're going to see other stuff. And they might click on something else.
Yeah, and there's more than just the shonen, which is like, this main character who was fighting, and like Spy Time's family is this really cool family about this family that's a spy. You have like some of the there's ones that are about cooking, there's ones that are about sports, romance.
There's so many.
Like with that one, Alex.
Yeah, there is heaps. Like any genre you will find an anime for. look, I know in anime sometimes we have our wars. Which one's the best one? Who's the big three? Which
Right,
one?
right,
You know.
right.
But overall, as anime fans, this is a win for us because this is after the Dragon Ball Evolution, after Cowboy Bebop, after the Avatar one, it hasn't looked good. And now all of a sudden things are starting to maybe like look like, ooh, we might be getting some more live actions, which is going to bring more people into the anime world. And then people will stop saying online animes for children.
Right,
Which
right.
I'm freaking sick of.
Yeah.
I
Right.
hate
Pe-
that.
yeah.
I hate it too.
Check out Classroom of the Elite, Jamie Lee. That one it's like it's sort of a little romance, but it's about like this high school where like they're competing for points and like there's different classes. And you can kind of rise in the ranks. That is another one where I'm like, you know, it's not quite like shonen where you're like fighting and there's a main character thing. But again, that'll get you introduced into the anime world, the pacing and all that kind of stuff. There really is something for everyone. And I would say for, you know, like male audiences too, don't be so stuck to like the big three, you know, Bleach, Dragon Ball, One Piece. Expand your palette, try new things, you know, because there really is, like Alex said, so much out there. And I think you could appreciate storytelling in general just from like trying new things. Seriously.
Yeah. These anime live action adaptations are the future. I think people are burned out on superheroes. And I bet you over the next 20 years, we are going to be getting a lot more of this.
I think really what it is, dude, is just like, it's like what Alex said. It's like the people involved have to be actually people who actually love it and trust the artist. Trust the artist, and as like producers who are paying for it, like give trust, let go.
Yep, that's it.
Yep, I think that's echoed the whole way around with these strikes. You know, that we need to put our trust in the people who are qualified to do it, not the people who have the money at the top. So yeah, that's. You can see the difference in the shows. I mean, we've talked about, you know, oversaturated superhero genre, and then you come to things like Twisted Metal, The Last of Us, you know, this, One Piece.
Stranger Things,
You can see the people who are invested in wanting it to succeed for the fans, not for financial purposes, you know? So, yeah, you can definitely see the difference. Yeah, and another thing too, we talked about like this show. Sorry, this will be the last thing I say. We talked about the show being goofy, but I really didn't expect this show to be as gory, I guess you could say.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Yes, I didn't expect that either.
That was new. That was new.
There was decapitation at some point, and you know when they were slicing, Mihawk was slicing Zoro up. I thought, oh wow, like they're not holding back from this blood and these slices. Like they're going for it.
Yeah, and it has the stakes then because you're like, okay. There's a bit of blood in that. You're like, okay, so they get hit. They get hit. It's not like they get hit. There's nothing there where you're kind of like, oh yeah, they'll be right. It's now like you said, Zoro gets hit by that big slash, blood everywhere, and you're thinking, is he gonna survive right now? That's it, and that's the stakes, and that's some of the stuff that people have been too scared to go down that route because they're like, it's R-rated. We can't get the family in and everything like that. But it's like sometimes you need that stuff in the films. Like we're too scared now these days to not put it in. Because we're like, got to get those families to come and see it. It's like, not everything has to be PG. Like, we can do the higher MAR stuff. And like you've seen Joker, you've seen Deadpool and that. It works. Like, you can have a balance of both. And I'm glad they went down that and actually gave us a bit of blood.
Yeah, I was really impressed with that too. All right, I think that's everything. Tyler, did you want to add anything before we wrap up? Tyrone's out. He's done.
No, So we're moving into fall, and usually when fall hits, I get into my Harry Potter mode. And so this was just an interesting, because it literally just is fall, and this was just such an interesting watch because, and I've been listening to the audiobooks of the Harry Potter books again for after a long while, and this just gave me Harry Potter hope. And I was like, man, I hope that that the TV show that feels like this, and I don't know. It warmed my heart, and it really that's what attached me to this One Piece. That was the linchpin. I was like, all right, I see Harry Potter in this, and I'm in.
I'm just waiting for Tyler to bring up Spider-Man. Like we've knocked off his.
I love Spider-Man. I love
Spider-Man's next.
Who doesn't love Spider-Man?
Yeah, Peter Parker is very much like Luffy too. You know, it's like you're not gonna mess with my friends, and you know, I'm a good dude. You know, they're all in Luffy. You know, there's a lot of people in Luffy.
There's a Luffy in all of us.
Yeah.
Something like that. Is this the part where we go like woo or something like that? Is that how we sign off here? All right. Thank you guys. Oh, sorry. Sorry, dude. What's going on? There's two of you. Oh, you're frozen.
Whoa.
Whoa, how'd you do that?
Multiverse. Can you kick the other one? Sorry to
No
screw the
dramas.
recording. Yeah.
Oh, there we
My
go.
phone died, so it was like.
No worries. We're signing off. This is us. Thank you so much to everybody who's watching after the fact. Make sure you leave a comment because we always reply. Be sure to subscribe to all of my friends. The links will be in the descriptions. And that's it. Tyler and I are going to go watch some One Piece, I think. We're going to do some more anime. Yay!
Yes.
Go team,
I'm going to
go.
get some food and then yes.
All right. Thank you guys for jumping on. I appreciate you all.
Of course.
Too easy.
Bye.
Bye.